Stardew Valley is a very special game that lets you forget about your daily activities and just keeps you entertained all the way through. It's very appealing, easy to get into, and manages to grab your attention to the point where you realize it's 3 AM in the night and all that's on your mind is where you should plant your parsnips so they look good next to your cauliflowers. While the game is easy to get into and might look shallow on the surface, it manages to provide depth by letting you retain relations with townsfolk, rebuilding the local community center, and having a variety of festivals and events throughout every year you can spend on your farm. It lets you compete against the other people in the community, and if you manage to pull home a victory, you're rewarded with cool prizes that might help you out on your farm. You can build structures on your farm such as barns for keeping cows, sheep, pigs or goats, silos to store food for your precious animals during the winter, or house upgrades to keep your home nice and cozy for you and your chosen significant other. Stardew Valley really just provides you with a plethora of options for which it's up to you to choose how you want to approach the game. There's no need to rush, no need to stress. Welcome to Stardew Valley. So after hearing about the game, after looking at a bit of footage, maybe some screenshots from Steam, your first question might be, so is all you do in this game just farming crops? Well, planting and harvesting crops is a big part of Stardew Valley, but only if that's the part you want to focus on. The game pretty much lets you do whatever you want, whenever you want. You could earn your fortune by fishing in the lakes, rivers or ocean around the valley. You could delve into the caves and see what lurks deep beneath the peaceful settlement up above. What I'm trying to get across is that there's no real right way to play this game. Sure, you can plant crops and harvest them, try and plan your farm out to gain the most amount of money at all times. But if you don't enjoy that particular kind of playstyle, then it's super easy to find many other ways to play the game in a way you will enjoy. You could build barns and coops, keep animals and take care of them, sell their produce and have fun doing that. Or you could try and do everything at once while rebuilding the community center. Speaking of the community center, this is one of the bigger reasons why the game has managed to keep my attention for as long as it have. You get introduced to this by the mayor of the valley fairly early on in the game. He tells you about how run down this old building is and how the Joja Corporation wants to buy it and build it into a warehouse. It is now up to you and some small helpful spirits called Junimos to rebuild the community center back into its former glory. You do this by donating materials, fish, ores, and produce to the helpful spirits, and in return they'll reward you with gifts and by rebuilding the community center for you. It's done really well and it feels very rewarding to complete segments of these as you play. On the other hand, you could potentially skip this whole process with the community center and give in to the corporate greed from the Joja company. In the beginning of the game, you see your character working for this company known as Joja. You're slaving away at a computer and your only escape is the will your grandfather left you to his farm in Stardew Valley. However, the presence of Joja is still apparent as you move to the countryside. A new large supermarket's been built there and you can purchase a membership card from them. If you choose to do this, the mayor will decide to sell the old, rundown community center to them and instead a warehouse will be built there instead. If you choose to do this, then instead of rebuilding the center together with the friendly spirits, you'll be able to just buy your way to completion with the money you earn in the game. Another major part as to why I really enjoy this game is the feeling of community. There's a bunch of townsfolk that each have their own schedules and lives. There's a local doctor, a grocery store, carpenter, and a blacksmith. The townsfolk will all go to the doctor every now and again to make sure they're healthy, and people show up in the grocery store to browse the goods. In the evenings, a lot of people will gather at the local inn, and it's a good opportunity to talk to people there and get to know them better. This plays a major role in the game as you can befriend almost every single NPC in the game. If you do so, it'll reward you with cutscenes or them allowing you to enter their rooms in their house. With certain NPCs, it could even lead to romance and them moving into your farm and starting a family. The way these characters are written are mostly based on stereotypes, like the pale, purple-haired gamer girl Abigail, the rich, bratty valley girl Haley, or the suave, good-looking writer Elliot who has a cabin on the beach. However, as you befriend them by giving them gifts and talking to them, they'll open up and you'll learn more about their character and why they act the way they do. And in some cases, you might even influence them for the better. Overall, it gives a nice atmosphere to the game and gives you some choices on who to befriend or romance, and gives you a reason to interact with the people living in Stardew. Furthermore, in the middle of the town hangs a notice board and a calendar. The calendar will show you upcoming events and birthdays for the month. This lets you prepare in advance for certain events and reminds you to give a gift to a specific person if it's their birthday, as it'll give a higher boost to your relation status with them if you gift them something on their special day. The gifting system itself is a bit more convoluted, but we'll get back to that further into the video. On the notice board, you are sometimes presented with a quest. This will be one of the villagers asking for a certain item. You then have a couple of days to complete your given task, and if you manage to complete it, you'll be rewarded with some gold and a boost in relation with the person you're doing your quest for. But what you should ultimately take away from this is that the atmosphere of the game is done really well. The townsfolk seem like they serve a purpose in their little community and they're all fairly interesting and worth getting to know. However, you'll most likely pick a few favorites upon first meeting them and then mostly ignore everyone else, as trying to befriend everyone at once can prove to be quite a daunting task. The gameplay itself consists mostly of tending to your farm, slaying monsters while exploring the mine, attending events and befriending villagers. It's a gameplay loop that doesn't feel annoying or tedious, as everything can be done at your own speed. It also manages to stay fresh and interesting due to the way the game opens up new mechanics as you progress. It's done in a similar fashion to Animal Crossing, where certain buildings or areas aren't available to you until later on in the game. So you're constantly unlocking new things to keep you occupied and interested. Things like going to the mine or taking a bus to the desert aren't available right off the bat and has to be unlocked through timed events or completing certain milestones in the community center. All of this allows for many hours of gameplay and fun and keeps you from getting bored of the game. Building and decorating your farm is also a big part of the game. Just like Animal Crossing, you're able to choose the layout of your farm in the beginning of your game and then proceed to rid it of weeds, trees, and rocks, just so you can place down coops, farms, roads, and flowers to your heart's content. All of these things are either crafted through your inventory with resources gathered from your farm around the town or down in the mines, or bought from the local stores. There is a bit of a grind to this game, just as there is with a bunch of other games in this genre. You collect resources, harvest crops, tend to animals, etc., but the game does a good job of turning the grind into a fun activity that feels far away from actually being a grind. Waking up in the morning and walking outside to see that your pumpkins have finally grown feels really rewarding, and makes you excited to go collect them all so you can reap the rewards and sell them all for a profit. Then for you to go on and buy more crops or animals and continue the gameplay loop. Fishing is also a fun activity in Stardew Valley, and it's needed in order to finish the community center. Certain fish will only show up in certain spots, certain weather, or specific times of the year. Again, this is very similar to how a game like Animal Crossing does it, and in general the two games draw a lot of similarities, while still being two unique experiences. The main difference between the two games is the time gating. In Animal Crossing, your progress is locked in real time, meaning that you have to wait real-life days for buildings to finish and certain events to happen. Stardew Valley does this more traditionally and just lets you go at your heart's content. Whenever you sleep in your house, it progresses to the next day and you're free to do as you please. Let's take a second to talk about the progression of the game as well. The progression is done in a similar manner as Minecraft and many other games. You start out with weak tools that can only break certain materials, might take more hits to break stone or chop down wood. You can use ores you either find in the mines or buy at the blacksmith in order to upgrade their tier to a higher level. This allows you to be much more efficient and use less energy in order to harvest things. This also makes it so that you have a steady curve of upgrades throughout your game. You can upgrade your watering can so that you can water plants in a bigger area at a time, or build sprinklers in order to automatically water your plants as you play. You also level up your different skills, such as combat, mining, foraging, farming, mining, and combat. Each of these start off at level 0 and can be leveled up to level 10 by just playing the game. At level 5 and 10, you get to pick a unique perk or upgrade to that specific skill. You can choose between two different perks. This allows you to make changes to your character in a way that suits your playstyle, which is a very nice addition to the game. As for combat, you can buy new swords, find them in the mine while you explore and go deeper, as well as finding rings and boots that gives armor or different bonuses. This adds a bit of depth and invites some RPG elements into an otherwise very calm and relaxing game. It works really well and fits the game perfectly. I shortly mentioned energy before. Energy is a resource in the game that limits the amount of things you can do on a daily basis in the game. Every time you do an action in the game like mining, planting, or fishing, it'll spend a bit of energy. You start every day with a certain amount of energy available to you, and you spend this as you do activities. You can restore energy by eating food, eating crops you've planted, visiting the spa, or by resting till the next day. You also have the time of day to keep track of. You start every day at 6 AM in the morning, and if you're not in bed by 2 AM in the night, you'll pass out. A villager will find you and carry you back home, but you'll start next day with less energy than normal and will be fined some money as a penalty. On top of all of this, the game still gets regular patches and updates over 4 years after its release date. In patch 1.3, the developer Concerned Ape introduced multiplayer into the game, and it's been a lot of fun to play around with. It offers a variety of settings to let you enjoy the game exactly how you want with your friends. You can choose the amount of cabins in your farm, if money is split or separated between players, and so on. Overall, it's a great game that I've personally spent almost 200 hours in over the years. I've done so playing single player and multiplayer with friends. If it's a game you manage to get into, you'll be loving it and have a great time. Besides that, the game is only $15 on Steam, with sales happening every now and again. For that price, the game is a gem that's almost impossible to pass up. It got great replayability with all the different farm layouts you can choose, its multiplayer and all the different townsfolk you can befriend, and if my word isn't enough, the reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly positive, with a 97% positive review rate. It's also hard to point out negatives for this game. With its price being as low as it is, it's an insanely good quality, and the fact that it's a passion product made by a single developer really shows. goes. However, if I were to be nitpicky, I'd say that the game can lack goals at times. If you're not good at setting up your own goals and find a reason to keep on improving your farm for the fun of it, then you might run out of things to keep doing or to keep you motivated down the road. But even with that, you'll most likely have gotten your money's worth of fun and enjoyment with the game by that time, due to the low price of the game. Then there's also the gifting part of the game that I talked about a bit earlier. I'm a bit torn on the way this is done, as each settler have specific gifts they really like, some gifts they like a little less, and some gifts they hate. You get hints from people in-game when you talk to them every now and again, and it's possible to find notes around the world with hints and tips as well. But for the most part, you'll probably be looking up the wiki or some guide in order to figure out what your favorite villagers enjoy. I would have liked this to be a bit more intuitive as you play, but it's really not the end of the world. But the music is great and relaxing and sets the tone of the game really well. So if you haven't already picked up Stardew Valley by now, maybe it's time to do so. Maybe you're sad that all the Switches are sold out at the moment and you can't get Animal Crossing. Then this game is an amazing alternative that you can play on your PC while still being different enough that you can enjoy Animal Crossing later down the road as well. It's available for pretty much all the platforms: PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. You can even get the game on iOS and Android. I haven't tested out how the game works on a mobile device, but I'd imagine it works very well. So there's really no excuse to not pick up this cute and awesome game if you feel the urge to lose an abundance of hours in the Valley of Stardew. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed my little review of Stardew Valley. If you did, you know what to do at this point. Like, subscribe, comment, all the usual things you're told at the end of a video. I also stream over on Twitch from Monday to Friday every week. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.